Yo, what's up, everybody? Matt Bell here from Cary, North Carolina in Quarantine Central. Just hanging out, man. Thought I'd enjoy a little bit of time with you guys on a lovely Friday afternoon. If I'm a little sweaty, it's because I just got done planting a tree. Just put in like about a 450-pound tree. My wife and I, the two of us, moved that sucker in a hole just a minute ago because it's quarantine time and we're not supposed to be doing anything. So we're buying trees and sticking them in the ground. Um, my goal during this quarantine is I know people are consuming so much social media now. And there's so much like insanity on social media. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's an expert about everything. And frankly, none of us are experts about anything, but it's cool. Let's just take a few minutes to talk to somebody who is an expert about something. I keep bringing you different friends of mine. I brought you some fiddle players throughout the last couple weeks. We chatted with my buddy Todd Howard, who's a guitar player. We chatted with him last week. This week, we're talking to Mr. Chad Weaver. He's a big rock star. He's most recently been out with Zac Brown Band, but he's been out with Taylor Swift and I think everybody else who's anybody in the business. So here we go right here. Mr. Chad Weaver. What's happening?
Hey, how's it going?
He's hanging out in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah,
What's your weather like today? You guys enjoying some nice beer drinking weather?
it's well, I'm on like round 12 of coffee, but hey,
Woo woo.
yeah, man. It is sunny skies and incredibly windy out there today.
Ooh.
I don't know what's going on with that.
I know I was gonna blow all that COVID away
Ah, gosh, I wish.
with
I'm
any
afraid
luck.
I've got a flag out front. I'm afraid it's going to go flying up the hook in a minute. But yeah, doing good. Just hanging out at the house and trying to stay away from the news as much as possible. That's depressing.
No
But
doubt.
other than that, doing good.
So you spent the last how many years of your life on the road?
It would be 20 years. I'm sorry, 21 years. August.
So this has been probably the longest stretch that you've been home in a while, huh?
It is. It definitely is. I was thinking the other day. I don't think I've been. Uh, I don't think I spent more than like a couple of months tops off the road. And the thing is, we finished up last October, end of October. We always had some private gigs sprinkled in. November, December, had one or two in January. And we had just started up. I mean, we had done production rehearsals. We had just finished our second weekend out. So we were kind of coming off of a good winter break. And now we're stuck at home again. So I've not had this much time off since ever, really.
It's like middle
So,
school.
yeah, it's weird. It's like I don't know what to do with myself. I've not sat this in one place for this long in a while, or gone without, you know, catering or something. I'm actually having to cook every day. It's crazy.
It's weird, right?
I know.
Now, see,
I know.
the Zac Tour is great because he brings a chef out on the road with him, right?
Well, he used to. I think Rusty's doing some other stuff now, but yeah, we had Dega catering it, which is just wonderful. Love those guys, and yeah, it's just way too much food all day long, and sneak away for a cookie or something, and yeah, I miss that. Now it's like I want something. I gotta go cook it now. What's that all
Right.
about?
And then you wake up every day in the same room. Isn't that weird?
Oh, it's weird. It's awful quiet out here. There's no bus engine rolling or I don't know. I don't know how to. I'm trying to adapt,
It's hard to
but
sleep in all that quiet.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy. The
So
quiet's loud.
a lot of people, I don't think, really understand what it takes to put on a huge tour. Maybe explain to people sort of what is your role while you're on tour and what is it that you do that everybody would know if you didn't do it, but they don't know what it is that you do.
I don't know what I do. I'm guitar tech. That's the easiest way to explain it. If anybody that's not familiar with the music business or how it works or the behind the scenes guys, if you've ever been to a show and you see somebody bring a guitar out between songs to switch with a band member on stage, that's a guitar tech. So maintain all of their personal gear, and make it so your guy or girl, all they have to do is walk in and play. That's pretty much my role. Maintain all the gear and make it so they walk in, you put a guitar on them or whatever instrument, and they do their show. They give it back to you, and thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Yeah, that's been me for the last bit. Now, I know I'm sure a lot of people that are tuning in to see you are more on the violin or the fiddle side of things. I got by chance, really. I took a gig several years ago, 2011 now. I took a guitar tech gig, and I had a couple of folks that were, you call utility players. They play several instruments, and one of them was a violin player. And I can't get rid of them now. It seems like every gig I've got, it's like, oh, by the way, you get to take care of the fiddle guy too, or the violin guy, or girl, or whatever, and it's like, okay. I'd never maintained violins before, so I've learned a lot in the last almost 10 years, but I got to work with some great people, and it's another avenue. There's another instrument that I've gotten to learn a bunch about, so kind of cool.
Yeah, so how does one get into being a guitar tech?
I'll tell you the dumbest story you've ever heard.
I doubt it. I work in retail
and in the music business.
Yeah.
No, it was really silly. A guy that I grew up with was already working as an audio engineer out of Nashville. We're both from East Tennessee. I'm from Bristol area. He was right next door in Kingsport. And we're buddies since way back when. And he had gotten into a couple of audio gigs. He was doing front of house and was doing monitors for a couple of folks. And he was home visiting his mom one weekend. We got together, went out, got some dinner, hanging out, catching up a little bit. And he literally turned and looked at me, like breaking the conversation, and said, "Hey, our guitar tech's leaving. You want a gig?" It's like, sure. Why not? 2 weeks later, I'm on a bus riding to Delaware. It was that dumb. It's like everything else in the music business. It's a lot of times it's more of who you know than what you know.
For sure.
Like I knew how to maintain guitars. I knew how to do the main things that were involved with being a guitar tech, but I didn't know how to be a road guy, which is a completely different set of skills. So yeah, he helped me, kind of learn how to do what I knew how to do, but do it on the road, if that makes any sense.
Sure. So what are some of the big differences between doing it on the road and doing it in a guitar shop?
The ability to have access to a lot of tools, especially if you're doing anything structural. I've never been much of a structural repair guy. I can do certain things, but just having everything that you need on the road is going to box up into your work box, which is a good size case, but it's not everything that you would have in a working guitar shop.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Sure.
That's kind of the knuckle dragger version of it, but that's kind of how it works. So you're a lot of times you wind up being a little more of the triage version of guitar repair than you do actual repair. Just it depends on what it is.
Yeah, I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland a few years ago, and I think every famous instrument that's in there has got gaff tape on it somewhere.
Yeah, broken.
So it's we're hard on gear, especially touring. Touring is really hard on gear.
Yes, it is.
When stuff sits in your practice room and it never leaves the house, it could go years and years and years without even breaking a string.
Right.
But touring life, it's like the wood is cracking and he snapped the neck on the thing. And gosh, how do you even do that?
Yeah, that's another one of those things that most people don't really think about. You're taking all of your stuff, putting it in a case, and throwing it on a truck, and then the truck is not climate controlled. So if you're touring, Western Canada in January, and then a month later you've got a show in, Miami, it's a piece of wood. It's going to have a lot of the heat and humidity or the cold is going to have a lot of effect on it. So that's something that you got to maintain every day. Now, especially with the violin, much
Mm-hmm.
more fragile than a guitar, even more so than an acoustic guitar. So much more temperamental when it comes to humidity or whatever. That was one thing. Taking care of Jimmy DiMartini, I had a little kind of like a guitar vault, but made for all of his violins.
Sure.
So they rode the truck, and they don't like drastic temperature changes.
Mm-mm.
So it's something. It's one of the things that you really have to maintain every day.
For sure.
Sure.
Let me throw on a set of headphones here so I don't get any feedback. All right. So, what have been some of the coolest places you've gotten to go?
That I actually got to see.
Well, yes, that's a great question, right?
That's rude. It's it's kind of weird. It's like the sometimes you go to places, half a dozen times, and you never see more than the loading dock or the dressing room or whatever, the back parking lot, whatever. Excuse me. But some of the places I always like, I still like. I like California. I like different parts of California for different things because I love the climate.
Mm.
I love the desert. So parts of Nevada or Arizona, I love going out there. Um, I love the mountains in Tennessee, but I've lived here my whole life and I have not gotten used to the humidity yet. I still have. I'm 45 years old and I still can't get used to the humidity. So I like going out there where it's a lot drier. But out of the country, I don't know. Since I was a kid, I'd always wanted to go to Japan and Australia, and I've gotten to go to both. Spent a lot of time in Australia, not so much in Japan, but Australia was wonderful. Just it's very Americanized, but that was definitely a bucket list thing. Being able to go down there and hang out.
Yeah, maybe tell people what a typical day, a show day, is like for you.
Um, Kind of depends on the gig. Some I've had to be in the building as early as 7:30 in the morning for that show that's going to start at my part of the show is going to start at 8 or 8:30 that night. So it can be really long days, or it can be you know like an amphitheater where your crews are going to load in. What can be used at the time, right? So the first truck in is going to be rigging, the guys that hang all of the stuff in the air. The next is going to come in your audio and your lighting, and then your video, and so everybody has an order. Backline guys, you're toting band gear. That's the last stuff to go in. So sometimes if it's especially with a smaller loading dock in some of these places, you're not going to get to see your truck until maybe right after lunchtime. So it kind of shortens your day up a little bit, or shorter, I guess I should say. But you're so you might be sitting around for a little bit in the morning, but once you get your stuff, you start putting everything into place, and line check, sound check if your guys come in. I've spent 6 years with some guys that. And I never saw them for sound check. It was like, okay, tap on everything, make sure it works. Okay, the crew was diligent about making sure everything was as it should be.
Sure,
but I wouldn't see the band guys. They were like, yeah, that's fine. We're all right. And then I've worked for the other side of that where, guys will come in and they'll sound check for longer than their show. So, just depends on who you're working for, how much they want to play, how bored they are in the afternoon,
right,
if they want to come in and play, whatever, and then you take the rest of your time to prep instruments, if you don't have something else to work on, repair from the day before or whatever. But, most of the time you're just string, clean, tweak, make sure everything's good for that night. And.
So you restringing these guitars pretty much every day, or is it every couple days?
Depends on the instrument, depends on the guy, depends on the humidity. Some guys they don't sweat. I had one guy that he could go several days on a set of strings. I mean, he was okay. And I've had other ones that one guy in particular, bless his heart, I don't know what he ate. I don't know what it was that caused him to do this, but if you listen to his mix, you could actually hear in just 45 minutes or an hour, you can hear the top end of his guitar kind of rolling off because his strings were dying.
Oh my goodness.
The next day, you'd open the guitar vault up and look at his strings, and they would be green and just tarnished, whatever, you know. So I'm like using elixir strings on him to try to get, you know, at least get some high end on this or some top end on the strings, you know, at least last through the show. And he would pick so hard he would cut through the Gore-Tex coating on them, and then he would rot the strings from the inside out. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
So, you know, Zac wasn't too bad on him. He would Zac is more of he's very aggressive player. If you ever watch any live video of him, watch his picking hand. He is very aggressive.
Yeah.
So that's usually what causes string change with him is he just beats them to death. He's just very, very, very dynamic player.
Mm-hmm.
But he really gets into it when during a live show. So he can be real heavy-handed with his picking hand. But then he'll go play some finger style, something that's really light. And yeah, it's crazy. He's about the most dynamic player I've ever worked with.
Yeah, I think my first introduction to him was, of course, as a singer and songwriter, and then I discovered later that wow, this guy's a hell of a picker too.
Yeah, he's a really good guitar player. Classical background, so he does a lot of really, really cool fingerstyle stuff. You know,
that explains sort of the nylon string thing too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's creepy too how much of a jukebox this guy is. I mean, you name something and chances are he knows the song. You know, it's like we were in the studio working on a record a few years ago, and he picked up this guitar and was just kind of strumming around on it, and he starts this little fingerstyle thing, and I'm like, I know that song. What is that? And started listening a little closer, and it's like, it's an old White Lion song from the 80s. You know, I was like, really? That's, just he'll pull out something like that's, you just wouldn't expect. So, but yeah, he's a walking jukebox. The guy knows a million songs. So, but yeah, really good guitar player.
And of course, the band's fantastic too. And his songs, God, what an incredible songwriter. Yeah. But one of the things that blows me away is how good and how varied the covers are that they do too.
I know, it's crazy.
Everything from Metallica to Charlie Daniels they're all over the place.
Oh, it's way varied. You have no idea how deep that rabbit hole is. When I took that gig, I have to be honest. I knew maybe 3 songs from those guys. You know how it is. I mean, you're working with somebody, whatever. You kind of got your head down, and the world is whatever gig that you're on. So I knew of them. I knew about them, but I didn't know much of their catalog. Excuse me. So my first gig, I was like, okay, here we go, and they came out of the gate with one of their tunes, and which you never know with them. What they're going to play and when. I was like, okay, you got my attention now. They really good. And then I start looking through because he does some different tunings. He does some different capo settings, things like that. So I was given like this master set list, and the set list changed every night. We never played the same show twice.
Okay, so it's different every night.
Every night, and I would get my set list if. On a good night, we would get the set list before the opener finished. Sometimes we'll get it during the set change. But I would get the set and, make all my notes and stuff on it. But I have a master list that has all the songs on it, so that if, you just brain fart. Okay, what was that? What did I do on this? What song had this capo setting? Whatever. I can go back and reference that. It's almost 6 pages long now of all the songs that they can do. It's pretty crazy.
And it's like, keep me in mind. He wants this guitar and this tuning with this setup, right?
Pretty much, yeah. There's a lot of song specific guitars out there. Let's see. I was up to, let me think, 17 guitars for him in the A rig. We have an A rig and a B rig. And I tried to make them as gear wise, they were identical. Guitar wise, they were about 75% identical. But yeah, about 17 guitars to cover everything that they could, anything that they could pull out. 17 guitars and a harmonica.
Wow.
So yeah.
And then some fiddles, and somebody's got to play a banjo or something too, right?
Oh my gosh, that was always the joke. Is they're not, the last couple of records haven't been as country as what they were doing early on in their career. And when I took the gig, there was one banjo out there, and when we got to rehearsal this last time, I think there's three or four. I think it's like they're getting less country, but there's more banjos showing up for some reason. But yeah, there's a banjo, and then of course I took care of Jimmy as well, and so he had four violins, one acoustic guitar, one electric guitar.
Wow.
It's a lot of strings.
Yeah. Well, of course, I know a lot of Zach's stuff is tuned down a half a step too, right?
Majority of it is. Excuse me. Just because it's a little easier for him to sing over, and he is by far the most powerful singer I've ever worked with. We did several years ago. Well, it was when Letterman was quitting, and he had people come on, and they would the music acts would come on, and they would be there all week.
Okay.
The Foo Fighters were there for a week, and they had Zach come sit in with them. He and Dave Grohl are real good buddies, and he asked him to come in, and so we go up there. It was just me and Zach, and I think our production manager went with us. So I was sitting in the dressing room with him while he was warming up, and the dressing rooms at Ed Sullivan Theater are like a closet. He literally hurt me. my ear was hurting by the time we got out of there because he sings so loud. He's just very, very powerful singer. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either. That was like my first year with these guys. So
20,000 people in the stadium. You may or may not need a microphone tonight. You know?
Exactly. If microphone is optional, just
turn it up a little.
Yeah,
just for the people in the back.
It'll be fun. Yeah, he's probably top three most dynamic and powerful singers I've ever stood on stage and listened to.
Wow. Crazy. So who's your first tour?
Brian White.
Okay.
Brian was great. He was part of that kind of mid '90s, mid late '90s kind of country. Great guys, great band. I had gotten to know some of those folks in the band and the crew prior to taking the gig. My buddy that I was talking about earlier, he was a monitor engineer for Brian, and Brian decided to take a break, so I was only with him for about 6 months. He had been hitting it hard for several years. I mean, there were a couple of years he was knocking down like 300 dates.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the house for a minute. No, I don't blame him. But he's still out there gigging. I told him, call me. I was like, dude, I would go out and do dates with him. Go do a weekend with him just for old time's sake.
Sure.
Yeah. But real good guy. Those were fun days though. That was back in 2000.
Okay. And then where'd you head after that?
Terry Clark. Country girl. Yeah. Canadian country
the girl
girl
with the hat.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, I spent 4 years with her. 4 days.
4 years with her one night. Yeah.
Some of them seem like that. Terry was great. She was, still is very much a, let's get a steak and a beer and hang out. And, that's her. That's pretty much her. She was just a lot of fun. My first day with her, oddly enough, because I was still living in East Tennessee at the time. I was driving over to Nashville to catch the bus or a plane or whatever, and and then get off the bus or the plane and drive back to Bristol. I hadn't moved over here yet, and I got up, was getting my stuff together, and was about to head over to get on the bus that night, September 11th, 2001.
Oh.
So I just throwing stuff in a bag and watched the second plane hit live on TV. It was creepy to say the least. And Terry and the band were in Canada for the Canadian Country Music Awards, so they got grounded in Canada. So let's see, that was on Tuesday. We were supposed to play Wednesday. Uh, let's see. Yeah, we were supposed to play Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We had a 3-show over a 4-day run, and the first two got postponed. So I didn't drive in until that Friday, and we went out and did one show. And then I called the tour manager to put in my notice on, let's see. So that would have made my first day the 15th. Ask me why I remember this stuff. And I put in my notice on September 15th of 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, so they were stuck in Canada for a while. I was in Texas at the time, working, and I had a bunch of folks in from Europe that I was working with, and they all ended up stuck in the United States for like a couple weeks before the whole backlog, before they opened up the skies. And then, of course, you've got 2 weeks worth of people trying to all get home today. Yeah. So, yeah, I remember that just being a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very early in my career. But just being out and riding down the interstate, and you see those lighted construction signs, with the message like, this lane closed or, whatever. And it was all I hate to use the word propaganda, but it was, pro America, we will, we will get through this kind of messages. I don't know any other way to describe that.
Sure.
And you just don't typically see stuff like that here. You see things like that in other places, but you don't, at the time you didn't really see anything like that here. And it was very,
it was surreal. It really was
surreal. That's a perfect word for it. It was very surreal. So not a lot of talk on the bus that night that we first went out. It was kind of like fearful of what was about to happen.
Yeah, we knew that there was life before that day and there's life after that day, and they're not the same.
Right.
That's what
I like we're doing right now.
I say so many of the people that are watching are young. They don't remember that. My gosh, it was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But my kids don't remember that. A lot of my friends and the guys I'm playing with, they were little kids when it happened. They don't remember. But you sort of get that feeling about COVID too, that there's life before COVID and there's going to be life after COVID, and they're not going to be the same.
Right. And there's the fear of what life is going to be like in the meantime. But I got faith. We're gonna get through it. Just
Seems
like that.
Like we always do.
Yeah, we'll find a way. Something will present itself. I am convinced of that.
Just hope it presents itself before my savings account goes to zero, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Or at least maybe somebody's going to figure out how to get some musicians a check here.
Yeah. There's a lot of things out there that are really trying to help musicians and folks that do work behind the scenes. Music Cares, grants and Live Nation. They've got a thing out there now where you can apply. You have to prove, okay, I've been in the business this amount of time. Here's my resume, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And they're really reaching out and helping folks.
Oh, good.
Some really good stuff out there. There's a bunch of those out there. So.
Yeah, and who knows what's going to come after this? I think sort of the cream always rises to the top.
Yeah, it's unnerving, not knowing what's about to happen in our industry, because it's, that was one thing that I was always felt pretty confident about. People always need to be entertained, So this is a business that I thought, okay. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. People need to be entertained, and I was glad to be a part of that. But it put the music industry and many others. Not trying to slight anybody else, but it put the music industry on its knees, and it's never thought I'd see something like this. however people want to feel about it. I know that I've talked to a bunch of people that think that we're being too cautious, and there's others that think we're not being cautious enough. It doesn't matter. Whatever,
Seriously.
whatever. Um, but just hoping and praying that something good happens.
No doubt. Well, a bunch of great music's going to come out of this because the people who write are going to write amazing stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. 2021 is going to be big doings for music and artists, songwriters, whatever. Wholeheartedly believe that because all these guys have their home studios that they're just chipping away at a bunch of new material.
Right. Yeah, they got lots of time and they got
Oh
lots
yeah.
of feels. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
these are some good stuff.
Yeah, that's the two things that's gonna make for some great music that's coming our way.
So who else have you been out on the road with? Any good stories? Any good? You don't even have to use names if the stories are too good.
Let's see. Well, I left Terry, went with Brad Paisley, tech for him for almost 6 years. Brad and I knew each other from Belmont. We both went to Belmont University a million years ago. He actually graduated though, bragger. I dropped out. He's like one of three people I think I know that actually got a gig if they graduated. It was the weirdest thing about that place. I'll probably get some hate mail from Belmont now, but it's the weirdest thing. It's like most people I know that got a gig if they went there, they dropped out.
Right.
And if you stuck around and got your degree, then it's like, well, okay, what are you doing? Where you at?
Well, it's like the NBA now. It's like they look at these guys that played college all 4 years and they're like, well, they must not be any good. They stayed in college for 4 years.
Yeah, nobody pulled you out of college to come play pro ball yet.
Yeah, if you're real good, you did a one and done,
Exactly. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, that was kind of the weird thing about he was a music business major. I was a music performance major. You see how that turned out, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, well, whatever. But yeah, about 6 years with him. That was a good time. I got to do a lot of cool stuff because of that gig, because he was the guitar guy at the time. We did, what did I do, 5 records with him, I think, and just that was when. I say when, I know he's still doing this stuff, but like Vintage Guitar was always calling on him to do something. He was in, this guitar magazine or that or whatever. And, I got to do, I used to write an online column for Premier Guitar. It wasn't in the printed magazine, but it was on the website. And I got to do that. It was because I was working with the, hot guitar player at the time.
Sure, Brad's nasty.
Oh gosh, yeah. That guy, he would play stuff like, especially if we were doing overdubs on one of the records. He would play stuff, and I just looked like, really, where'd that come from? And yeah, Smoke and guitar player.
Yeah, some of the stuff that he plays, like you break down, you look at what scale was he using, what arpeggios was he using there, and that thing has no business working over that chord progression, but it does.
Exactly. And you asked about a story. Oh, here's a good one for you. There was, what was the record? I think it was on Fifth Gear. There was a song that we were doing the tracking day. So they were tracking drums and bass. I think it was the only thing that they were keeping. And so he was playing along with it, and he just improvised this solo. And I had access to the rough mix of the demo, right? Or for that song. I thought the solo was awesome. I thought it was one of my favorite things that he had done. I thought, well, this is great. And I usually sat in the same room with him and his producer whenever he was doing overdubs. So when he would come back in and when we were doing overdubs, he would play something and he's like, hey, what do you think of this or whatever? And sometimes he would ask me what I thought. Like my input has anything to do with, how many records have the two of you sold?
You're the music performance major. You tell me.
Yeah, I'm the dropout. So, but I mean, I think he was just looking for another opinion or something like that. It's like, my opinion means squat. I know that, that, thanks for humoring me, but it means nothing. But I wouldn't let him rest on this thing because he kept trying to change that solo. I was like, no, you need to go back and do it like you did in the on the tracking day. He's like, but it doesn't work. It's this solo over this chord and blah blah blah, and it doesn't work. I was like, I don't care if it works or not. I liked it, and he kind of blew it off. And then they had a rough mix of one of the overdubbed ones, and he goes, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I like the other one better." And he was like, "Fine, set it up. I'll play it again." And he did, and it's not 100% what it was on the tracking one, but it's about 90% there. And he was like, "Are you happy?" I was like, "Yeah, I feel better, thanks." So I got my way.
Awesome.
But that's it. I mean, that's the only time I ever really had any input there. Those guys just work so well together. I was there to, just if, I was there to go get coffee, or, pass me the guitar or something like that. They didn't need me. It was a good time. So,
I mean, you hear a lot of the garage players or the guys that are playing beer joints and stuff around the country are always, they just know in their hearts that they're better than the guys that are on the big stages. And well, they made it out there because they got lucky.
Right.
Man, when you get around some of these guys, you probably on the record and on stage, you hear about 5% of what they got.
Yeah.
It's you get them in the studio or you get them backstage where they're just sort of jamming with each other, and that's when the big guns come out. Because you don't think on a stage in front of 30,000 people, that's not the time to really be super risky.
No, people are paying money to come in and hear the song that they listen to in their car or they listen to on their phone or whatever. That's what they want to hear. That's what, the old production manager that I used to work with used to say all the time, dance with the one that brought you. Mm-hmm. This is the song that made you. This is the song that afforded you to play this arena or whatever, give people what they want, But I also get it from the artist standpoint. I've been playing this song for X number of years and I'm going crazy, that kind of thing. I get it. And you just got to find a balance.
Right.
You got to, like my guys, man, they go out and play their songs, different arrangements sometimes, speed it up, slow it down, usually speed it up, throw a cover in, or they'll play this song and segue into something else and then bring it back or whatever, because they've got to keep it interesting too. But you got to find that balance between what the people want and you're also you got to make yourself happy too.
Sure.
So you got to do both.
But I have not been around. I've been around not nearly as many players as you, but around a lot of these guys that are on the big stages. I can't think of hardly any that I've met that they weren't just monster players.
Yeah. That's one thing that I can wholeheartedly tell you. I've been blessed to work with some amazing people, absolutely amazing people, just wonderful players. Even if it's not a full-time gig, just to go help, go do, like Brad's management company was the same one that took care of and still does take care of Vince Gill. And I love Vince. Nicest guy in the world and can play like that. Come on.
He's Vince Gill. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And just get to sit in a room and listen to these guys play. I'll tell you one. Years ago, it was when it was right after Buck Owens died, and Brad and Buck were buddies. The ACM Awards were coming up, and Dwight Yoakam had wanted to organize this tribute to do to Buck on the ACMs, and we sat in a room. This was a day or two before the ACMs. We were already out there for rehearsals. So we sat in one of the dressing rooms, and his band was Dwight, Brad, Chris Hillman from the Byrds, Flying Burrito Brothers,
My goodness.
Billy Gibbons, Tom Brumley from the original Buckaroos, and Travis Barker on drums.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was the band. And
Wow.
We sat in the dressing room for about 3 hours, listening to those guys put together a Buck Owens medley to play on the awards show. That was a pretty cool day at work.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's been a couple of times, Brad and Billy would get together and do stuff, go play with Red Volkart or something like that. That's those guys. It's just, I don't play guitar so much anymore, but back in the day, that was just inspiration.
No
Just want to
doubt.
go, you know, can I have just a little bit of that? Can I play just just a little bit? But now I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll listen to it. I'm good.
So then, after a little time on the road with Brad, where'd you head after that?
um, I spent about 3.5 years with Taylor Swift, um, running around the planet. You know,
One of the biggest stars alive right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I did. I did. I came in on the during full production rehearsals for the North American tour of Speak Now, and then we did Australia and New Zealand after that. Took a break, and then we came back and did um, a promo tour for Red, and then I did all of the Red tour except for the Asia leg. I left right before that, so
Man,
that
she
was
has cracked the code on songwriting for
my
what it is that people want to hear. Like she can write one of the little earworms.
yep.
I know in my heart she can write 10 of them a day.
Yes, yes, and probably does. It probably does. That that was just polar opposite difference from coming from Brad
Yeah.
going over to that. Um, and it was fun. It was fun. There was this, again, for people that, if you're not familiar with how this kind of works, usually, um, especially in the rock and pop world, a lot of times an artist will hire a production manager, or their management will hire a production manager, and then the production manager brings in his crew. Here's my backline guys. Here's my audio guys. Here's my riggers. Whatever. So this guy that came in on that one, most of those guys came over from Metallica. So a majority of our crew was set carpenters, riggers, pyro. All these guys had been out with Metallica for a long time, and then here we are doing this. It was a lot of fun.
Well, there's
Good,
big
good.
budget, and then there's like Taylor Swift level budget,
Right, right,
right?
right. She's a sweetheart. She was always really good to me. Her tech, I took care of band members on that one.
Okay.
I had Caitlin Evanson and Mike Meadows. Both of them were utility players,
Hmm.
but she was my first violin player.
Okay.
That's where that started. And but they're great people. Everybody in that camp was great. I miss them. A lot of folks over there. I keep in touch with a lot of them with whatever endeavors that they're on now. And but that was a lot of fun. But her tech, Taylor's tech, lived out west. He was in Idaho. So if she was doing something in town, they would call me,
Mm.
and I would go help out and just kind of fill in, just to save him from. It's like, okay, well, she's going to go play this thing downtown tonight. Okay, cool. We're not going to fly him in for that. I'll go do it. It's no big deal.
Right.
And she was always a sweetheart to me. Good people.
So just, I guess, explain to people, if she's doing a radio station thing, just her and an acoustic guitar, like
Yeah.
people are thinking, what does she need a guitar tech for that?
Well, a lot of times, if somebody's doing a promo thing like that, they're doing interviews, or they're doing, they're getting pulled away to do this or that or whatever. So they need somebody to go in, one with the guitar to, make sure that when she does come in to do that part of the interview or whatever it is, that it works. As opposed to, burning airtime. It's like, okay, let me plug this in. Let me make sure this works and everybody's getting signal and, that kind of thing. So, it usually doesn't take long,
Right.
just a few minutes, for everybody to get everything plugged in and get what they need. But, she's got better things, or other things to do, better things, however you want to
Well, I
describe
think
it.
people too don't realize, like, Taylor's time is insanely valuable.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like
I can't
thousands and
imagine.
thousands of dollars an hour is what her time is worth.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
She's not carting that guitar in with her when she comes, because there's photographers everywhere trying to get
Yeah.
pictures of her, and she's not
Yeah.
carting it out. And
Yeah.
some of these are priceless guitars that these people are playing.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
not just going to leave it sitting on a stand while you go to take a picture with somebody.
No, 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 no. no. Yeah, I mean, some folks that, Brad and some of his old Fenders, or, I mean, even the stuff that Bill Crook makes for him, I mean, you can't replace that. Bill made that for him. That's not, okay, well, let me go get another one, but like his old 68 Pink Paisley, he's had that thing since before he got his record deal. You can't replace that.
That thing's eventually going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely it will. That guitar did not leave my sight. I brought it home. If we were going home, the end of a run, if it was a quick turnaround, I would take it with me. If it was just like an overnight or something like that, he would take it. But more times than not, that guitar came with me. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. It'd go home and get put in a safe or something. It's like.
Were you with him when they had that big flood in Nashville and so many people lost so much stuff?
Oh gosh, I will not live as long of a life as I should have. Oh my gosh.
I remember hearing about him specifically, that his warehouse did flood, right?
Indeed it did. Yeah, I had 2 lockers at a gear storage place downtown, and everybody in there had their stuff ruined. Some was recovered, some was able to be repaired or whatever. I had I knew that the water was rising. It was like Corps of Engineers say it's going to crest at this time. Well, the Corps of Engineers say it's going to crest at this time, and it just kept going, And the building that the stuff was in, I knew the man that owned it, and he called me that let's see, it was Sunday morning, and he said, "I just rode my jet ski over to the building." It's like, oh, here we go. And I quote, "The water is crotch deep inside the building." So
now you're trying to remember what you stacked on the bottom and what you stacked on top.
The only thing of my entire rig that survived was the MIDI controllers for his rack. The Pink Paisley went home, as always.
Right.
And we had just finished up working on, it was a short run of Signature Series Gibson acoustics. And the final the final one that they sent that he okayed for production, for some reason I brought it home. I don't remember why. I say brought home. I mean, it was at his house, but it didn't go to the locker. Everything else was gone. The prototype, there was a couple of prototypes of that acoustic guitar were in there. There was a 52 telly and a whole bunch of Bill Crook tellies.
Wow.
All gone. I lost 23 amps, 15 speaker cabs, the rack, my work box, 2 work boxes rather. And the weird thing about it was, that it flooded that Sunday. Monday morning, we were supposed to load out of there and into a rehearsal room to start production rehearsals for the tour. And oddly enough, the single that he was supporting at the time was called Water.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, my goodness.
And the tour was called the H2o Tour.
Yep. Yeah, so tell me about the logistics of that, because that was one of those tours where they were spraying water like from fire hoses off the stage at the crowd, right?
No, not at that one.
Okay, maybe there's some videos or something where they were doing all that.
Maybe I don't know. Might have been something he's done since then.
Yeah.
Because that was a big tune for him, so maybe he's done something since then.
Yeah, I just remember thinking about, my goodness, all this water and all these instruments. My God, what are you guys doing?
I have a cell phone video of me spraying a real 52 telly. This is going to make the guitar guys cry. A real 52 telly with bleach water and a garden hose. Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about just
trying to recover the instrument.
Feels wrong. Well, I mean, you had all that nasty river water that was in it, right? So it would have, the bacteria would have made that guitar rot from the inside out. So spray it with bleach water, let the bleach seep in there, kill the bacteria, let it dry out, and start over. And Bill Crook saved that guitar. But it was so weird because if you looked at it from the end, like where the back strap pin is. Um, you It's split like from the strap button up to the bridge. So if you looked at it straight on like this, it was like that. So he was able to repair that. I mean, under a press and glue it back together, whatever. And as far as I know, he's still playing that guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good times. Yeah, it took a long time, but he was able to save that. Bill's a magician. I swear, that guy.
I guess.
He's amazing. But yeah, it was stressful. But we started the tour 3 weeks later, and I didn't have all of the guitars that I wanted back in his vault, but I had all the ones that I needed, and we weren't lacking. I don't know how in the world that thing got put together like it did, but I didn't sleep for about 3 weeks. Dave Friedman in Hollywood had I just had to call him, and I was like, look, here's the gear that I've got to build a new rack, get the rest of it, put it together, because I've got to go work on this. I didn't even have time to build the rack. Dave Friedman saved me on that. All the companies that came together to make that happen. But I have to thank Tony Bruno, Dave Friedman, and Bill Crook. Those three guys absolutely made that happen for me.
When you think about the logistics in one of these huge tours, that we're talking about, like basketball arenas and hockey arenas and huge venues with tens of thousands of tickets, some of them hundreds of dollars a piece. Like this tour has to happen, and it has to happen on these dates. So if you got to move heaven and earth, well, you do it. Get to pushing.
Yeah. I had an issue with something one night. I don't remember what world it was. It was something I was dealing with all day, and I was like, I just can't get it right. And he was like, what's going on? I was like, oh, I can't. This is just giving me grief or whatever. And I will never forget this. He looked at me and he said, calm down. There's going to be a show. So it's like, it'll be fine. I was like, okay.
That is what they do. They put on shows.
Yeah, he's like, it's going to be fine. Well, we're going to get through this, So I was like, okay. So I calmed down, and we fixed it, and done deal.
Man, I as a guy who works on crews sometimes, that job can be so stressful, knowing that downbeat is going to be when downbeat is. People have no idea sometimes all the insanity that's happening backstage because a wireless unit was freaking out or a wire was bad, and we didn't know which one. We knew it was one of them, but we didn't know which one.
I had an amp head go down one night, and I did all the effects switching for Brad.
Okay.
At the time, so I had this amp head go down. So I retubed the head. I changed all the power tubes out of it while looking across to the side of the stage to one of the lighting guys. I was like, okay, push this button I'm going to count to 3, hit this button. So I'm like putting tubes in, and I look over here and go, and you do what you got to do.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of these guys, when you hear their tones and stuff on stage, and you realize that all this is going through pedal boards, but the stars, especially Brad, he's not busy stomping pedals out there. Somebody backstage is doing that for him.
No, I used to work his wall pedal for him. Oh, that was one tour. Because they did this gag where he and one of the other guys would do it was like this kind of guitar battle thing, and it was like all this wall pedal stuff. So they had these huge oversized wall pedals out on the thrust, and it was just a big gag, but it was a chance for those two guys to kind of trade licks, Sure. So I was working Brad's wall pedal, and dude was having his tech do his. So we're both standing up there, working these wall pedals, like, who's that guy? Why is he out there? I got crossed up one night because he had his, on that particular tour, he had his entire guitar rig directly behind star position, like right in front of the set, and that's where the wall pedal was. So he would purposely stand sometimes there so that the spotlight that was on him would be on me, so that I would be uncomfortable, which worked. So,
Well, he's a well-known prankster, right?
oh yeah, yeah. And then, like our bass player, Kenny Lewis, who I love dearly, would come over and like try to, you know, poke me in the ribs or, knock me off balance or something like that. And then Brad would go this way, and then he'd go up, Kenny would go up and sing out of his mics, and I'd go up and unplug his bass and take off running. And, it was, I miss that stuff.
The band that I toured with for the last 10 years had a crew, and anytime one of the crew guys would have to come on stage to do something, we're going to be merciless.
Oh yeah.
Like they're out there trying to help us, right? So right. What are we going to do? We're going to mess with them. We get the guys coming out trying to mess with a kick drum mic, trying to get it just right. And everybody's, I'm running over smacking him on the butt with a bow, and people are hip checking him, trying to knock him into the drum kit.
Yeah.
Pouring water on him.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with us?
Yeah. It's, we got to have our own show too.
That's true. And the crowd loves it.
One of the last shows that I did before this virus thing hit, there's a song that Zac starts out playing banjo through like the first verse, and then he switches to acoustic guitar. So he's still singing, and he drops the banjo straight down. He quick release strap, and it goes straight down. And then I pass the guitar to him, and then between two lines, he throws the strap. I can't talk today. The strap over his head, and then jumps right back into the next line because there's like just a breath between those two vocal lines, right? Well, I go out there, the strap twists, and he grabs it before I could untwist it, right? So he throws it over his head, and it's got a twist. Well, he wears the guitar kind of high anyway, so it brought it way up here. And I was like, whoa! So I set the banjo down, and and all of his straps are like this really tough buffalo hide, so there's no give. And I thought, I'm trying to get the thing off of the end of the strap button and untwist it, and I thought, surely he's just going to give me the guitar. Oh no!
You got that sucker locked in.
So I'm up. I've got my hands up like this, and I'm trying to get the strap over the button so I can straighten it out. He reaches around and grabs me, catches me right up under here, and just pulls me in like this. So now my hands are like this, and I'm trying to fix this thing, and he's laughing while he's singing. Like, okay, so this is happening. Okay, all right. And I finally get him straightened out and leave. I come back up for the next song to take that guitar and switch with him again, and he introduces me to the crowd. Like, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
My friend.
Yeah.
Thank you, pal.
Thank you. I'll be here all night.
One of our crew guys got our lead singer back real bad one night. He had his batteries went dead in his in-ear pack.
Mm-hmm.
So our crew guy comes out to try to change the batteries in the pack, and it's on his butt. So the singer's sort of doing the butt wiggle thing, making Tyler chase his thing around, and it's you can't change batteries in a moving pack. So finally the crew guy grabs the lead singer's shorts and just
oh nice,
and just atomic power wedgie in the middle of a lyric. So you get this la la right into a mic, because when you do it, you pitch forward, and he pitched right into the mic, and he made this sound.
Yeah.
Yep. Good times.
Yeah. I used to throw guitar picks at our fiddle player on the Paisley tour. Justin would that year he was far stage right. And so my guitar world was right off the edge of the stage there, and he would play mandolin on a couple of songs. So he got to where he would play, and then he would throw his pick at me, and I was like, all right, I'll fire back. So I started throwing picks back at him. So one night he takes the mandolin off, and he's walking back up to the mic, and he's right about to sing, and I just flicked one like that, and I nailed him in the neck, and he yelped like a little schoolgirl right in the mic. Completely ruined that part of the song, which was, I loved it. I thought it was but
the worst is when a mic bites you. When you got one of those where you got a ground issue somewhere and a mic bites you, and the problem is it'll bite you right in the lip, which makes you say a bad word right into the mic. Good times.
Yeah. yeah, I had there was a couple of times that piece of carpet that they rolled out on that tour would just so I started keeping oh shoot, what do you call it? It's a little aerosol can of uh, gets rid of static in
Yeah.
laundry. I forget what it's called. Anyway, I used to keep some of that around and just go across the stage and just start spraying that just to get rid of it because it would absolutely do that. You touch
Pow.
anything metal up there and it would light you up. So yeah, yeah, that's how I learned to do that. That's how I learned to keep one of those things around.
Pow. Shit.
Sorry.
It's a family show, everybody.
Yeah, right, right.
Well, before we go, I do want to ask about the way technology has changed, the way things are being done. I think on the Zac Tour, you guys are using multi effects units, right?
Yeah, yeah. When I first started with these guys, Jimmy was using. Jimmy likes. He's very guitar player like in that he wants sound moving behind him.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to feel it, And he wasn't real crazy about having a wedge in front of him and piped in that way.
Sure.
So he was using an acoustic amp, 212 acoustic amp with a couple of satellite speakers off of it too, and a bunch of analog pedals for any kind of effects that he was using. And then I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, I guess he said, "I'm thinking about going to a Fractal." The Axe effects. And I thought, that's kind of overkill. And he was like, yeah, but I'll never need anything else.
Right.
Good point. All right. All right, I'm on board. Let's do it. And he had an Axe 2 that he used for a couple of years. And then last year, he upgraded to the Axe 3. Mm-hmm. And one of our guitar players, Clay, big Marshall rig and pedals and the whole bit. It was a wonderful sounding rig. It was one of my favorite guitar rigs I've ever heard, I think. He decided to go Fractal, and he's still got a great sounding rig.
Mm-hmm.
Because he made it sound like those Marshalls, but yeah, both of those guys, strictly Axe Effects stuff now. One of our utility guy, John Driscoll Hopkins, he's using the Line 6 Helix. Mm-hmm. And seems to be liking it a lot.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot.
With.
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know he uses one in his home studio, and then I think that was where it came from. I think he had gotten into using it a lot at home and recording and whatever like that. And it's like, you know what, maybe I'll just take this out on the road with me. And so he switched over completely to it as well. I don't really have any experience on that one. I've not gotten to play with that one much, but got quite a bit with the Axe 3s. We were using the last bit that I was with Taylor. Mike Meadows had switched over to all those guys went all Fractal as well. No real. I say real amps. You know what I mean? No tubes. And
it's a lot less maintenance.
Oh gosh, yeah. Because we had ISO cabs, 412s, 212s. Everybody's cabinets were in these huge road cases that you plug the box in.
Right.
It stayed mic'd up inside the box, but I mean, you've got a half a dozen of those things on a truck. That takes up a lot of truck space.
Mm-hmm.
So when we switched over to Fractal, and it was like, wow, okay, now we've got it's just so much easier.
Right, and you can carry a zip drive with everybody's backup on it.
Absolutely.
So if one of them goes down, you just dump the zip drive into the next one, and boom,
yep.
you're golden.
Yeah. Those and the guys with Axe Effects and I say with Axe Effects with Fractal mm-hmm. have been wonderful. Cooper, I've had to call him several times, like, help me. How do I do that? There's not a knob for this. I need tell me how to edit this or that, and so there's a bit of a learning curve with it. But right. Man, it's just the stuff's just getting better and better. If you'd have told me 10 years ago that I would think what I do about the Axe Effects right now, like think highly of it, because then I was like, oh, come on, if it doesn't have tubes in it, it's right. Typical, old school guitar player thinking, but still there's a place for that.
Sure.
It's like everything else. There's a place for it, but like those guys, I mean, from her career, from the early more country stuff to the pop stuff, that she's doing. I mean, you can't have a dozen amps out there
Right.
to call all those tones. You know,
But
you've got
you can run stereo, you can do all that stuff.
with them. Yeah, they're amazing, absolutely amazing.
And they sound exactly the same every
If,
night.
exactly. It's we did a let's see, was it Memorial Day or Veterans Day? Crap, I can't remember. At the mall in Washington D.C. Several years ago, and we went on right before Metallica because it was just kind of a catch-all kind of. I mean, there's like all kinds of acts on this thing, and Metallica went on right after us, and those guys were using all fractal.
Yes, sir.
And it was huge sounding.
Yep.
I still love those guys. But yeah, it was. I mean, it sounded just like the old days. I mean, they break into puppets, and it's like the intro, the guitar intro to that song. It's like, holy crap, there it is. It's 1987 again.
Yep. And you get the speaker crack up you want. You can change the mic. You can change. Yeah, I mean, you can change the sag on it. You make it sound like you're in Europe with that 50 cycle, electricity instead of 60, and it's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, I mean, Jimmy scared me when he first said he wanted to do that, but I was like, wait a minute, this is everything that we need right here. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, he uses mostly DI stuff, but he does some things that, that's based off of an amp. You know, he throws all of his effects in, and, he uses a wah pedal on a violin, and, Jimmy does some pretty stuff sometimes, and it's like, he just, we sit down and dial up whatever weirdness he's got in his head, and it sounds great.
Well, I know some guys on the Kane Brown tour, and they're, I know that all that stuff, they're playing to a click.
Oh, yeah.
So the click is able to fire all of their effects changes. So you just got that running to the back of the fractal. When we change songs, everything changes for you. And you're not clicking, you're not changing, you don't have to remember, you don't have a pedal monkey back there trying to remember what to do. Just MIDI does everything for you.
Yeah. I've
assuming it's working.
Yeah, well, there's that. But yeah, I've heard of several things doing that. Like people, some acts will run a Pro Tools rig. Not playing the show that way, but they run the rig to record, and it will control all of that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, this song is okay. Everything's on a click, and then at the verse, then this guitar player's patch changes to this one, and this one changes to this one, blah blah blah, and it's just it's done.
And when it's working, it's glorious.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
And when it doesn't,
sucks real bad. Yeah, real bad. Definitely a high pucker moment when that happens.
There are days where you feel like, boy, this is easy money, and there's days like you feel like, oh, I'm not making nearly enough money.
Yeah. I'm done.
Well, hopefully we'll get back to those days real soon where we can have the good days and the bad days. As long as we're having days, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know how much longer I can stare at these walls. I gotta get out of here and do something.
Well, hopefully soon, man. And I look forward to seeing you back out on the road again.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Man, thanks for asking. I'm honored. Thank you so much. Hopefully I gave somebody some kind of entertainment to listen to, my babbling and rambling.
If nothing else, we entertained each other for the last hour.
Exactly. Who cares? We made, we had a good time. We were good.
Awesome. Chad, it was good to see you as always.
Matt, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Take care, man. We'll see
too.
you, everybody.